Real life testing in relationships. What the heck is that? I wonder maybe the same way as you do, and I am so happy to have a wonderful conversation, a deep dive into what that is with my dear friend Richard in our Raw and Real in Relationships episodes.
Beyond the masks we wear and the roles we play lives a deeper truth about human connection. The most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. In Raw and Real in Relationships, Patricia, Lindner, and Richard Morden guide listeners through authentic conversations about every connection that shapes our lives. Honest insights for transforming every relationship through self-discovery. Because when you truly know yourself, everything else changes.
I am so much looking forward to learning more about this real life testing thing. Richard, it's all up to you. I want to give you the limelight and talk about this real life testing thing in relationships. What is that?
We all want more in a relationship and more in ourselves. And it's great to do personal work, which is primary for how we engage in our life, whether it's some type of healing or modality or something that helps us, find our triggers, also do some nervous system regulation. But especially in relationships, though, it's good to work on these personal development. I think it's an ongoing aspect, but it takes real world testing to understand the depth of the work, because you can do a lot of meditation and do all kinds of, personal procedures. But again, when you go on a date or have been involved with somebody for a little while and the relationships develop, how is what your work that you're doing, how is that coming out in your relationship? Are you being triggered again and you're confused because I thought it worked or not? And you know what? That's always going to show up. The triggers will always show up and you'll be like, shit, again, I thought I worked in that, but again, it's the awareness that it's there, the awareness that the trigger's there. Okay, now you've got something again to work with, because we're never done. We're never, ever, ever, ever done. So recognize the triggers, recognize these in your relationships. And as you're doing the personal work and make a journal or have a colleague to work with in that. But it takes, again, the real world testing in relationships, in your personal relationships, in your romantic relationships, your professional ones, for this to really develop in your nervous system and your psychology. How would you think of this? How do you feel when these conversations are? And again, it's ongoing, but it's beautiful to be able to do these and it does take real, like talking with real people, having the real conflicts for this to come to fruition for you. So you see your personal work develop and you develop in your inner strength and recognize yourself. There's something I can work on that now. I can go back and take it as a learning experience, because again, we're never complete, never done. And we're always a work in progress, but we're always in progress.
That is beautiful. And that just makes me think of maybe a concrete thing. Everyone is a work in progress. So what came to me was this picture of or image of a spiral, and you are constantly evolving, but you could just touch one layer below or one curve below, but you are always aware of more things than before. So it is bigger awareness. So in my case, and we talked about some deep wounds and issues in my life the other day, is it that just my body awareness, for example, just feeling the sensations and emotions in my body, my chest feeling like really narrow, or my mouth feeling totally dry, my heart beating? Is this like, hey, that is progress. You are so much further into the healing direction than you were before when completely shutting down. Is that what you meant by that? And this is the trigger is there, but the reaction is different. And then you can fine tune and you can climb this spiral. Maybe that's totally wrong, but I would love to hear your response to that.
Beautifully said, Patricia, because when you said now, perhaps in the past, the trigger would have been where you shut down or you really went defensive mode or you got really quiet. Suddenly you had no ability to stay there. But seeing this response you had. You had the dry mouth, you felt the tightness in your chest. I mean, that's a beautiful um, awareness. And it's not that we want to feel this, but like we want. I should be. I shouldn't have this, but we do. So whatever the trigger there, now you're able to have dialogue or look at yourself in ways, again, how you're trying to understand this emotional visceral response that your body had. So instead of shutting down, you had other things show up. This is a good thing because then you're able to look at these and say, what is this? And again, through your own dialogue or a colleague or a professional you're working with, that can help you understand these body triggers and say, what's this from? And then process the energy of these. It's not, and this isn't about ignoring. We're not here to ignore our body signs. We're not here to brush it all aside and put on a happy face. This, by acknowledging this, you have awareness. And each time this awareness is, you have greater awareness of yourself and the situations you're in. And that's an evolution, that's a progress, and it's a blessing to have when you look back and on the strength you're gaining from this awareness.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so I assume that you could also address this what is showing up in the body, or what you worked on inside of a relationship, because you suggested working through that with a coach or a colleague or a dear friend. When something is established, the foundation is established in a relationship, I assume that this is also a great way to work through some healing when you can address it with your partner. Am I right? Or what would you suggest in this case or in this space?
Well, again, this happens too, if you feel comfortable with the conversation about what the symptoms show up in your body with your partner, and your relationship has that foundation, then you probably can discuss this and just help each other and sort of look at it from perspective without judgment, without anybody feeling wrong, which is great. Sometimes though, the relationship isn't in that space yet, so then you need other support, other people to help you come to some inner solutions. And then before you have the conversation, because initially this may be full of triggers to discuss with your partner. They may feel offended or defensive. So if the relationship is already there, great. If not, then there's other tools and people to help you resolve this. But so then you can have maybe a lighter conversation with your partner if you need to.
Wonderful, wonderful. I like that distinction between being at different stages, and you always can do something. And you can do that on your own. You can read through books, but you can do that with us in our space that we are creating. And that's not just for those people who have already established this foundation in their relationship. It's for everyone, because we approach things in different ways, and it is for people who need to establish some foundations, or people who haven't worked in this space at all, or some advanced people who just find themselves lost or triggered at a very high level. But it's like, hey, I've worked on that, and you said that so beautifully. I've worked on that 1,000 times, and now it's there again. Why the heck am I working on that at all? It doesn't disappear. And I think that is also something that we address, because you said we are a work in progress, and just acknowledging those slight changes, those new aspects that came to this situation or added to this situation that are different from where you were maybe some weeks or months ago. And it's just a big invitation to spend some time with us, maybe listening to our wonderful snippets and episodes, or being with us in a very different space.
Beautifully said, Patricia. You're right. If you really want to reach out, we each have our own skill set. We're going to look at doing some different work with people, maybe even some group work. We're not sure, but I mean, having a conversation so we don't swallow these down, we don't brush them off. If they're there for us here to recognize, then please find a way to reach out to help, to see what solutions are available to you. And again, I think the greatest discovery we can ever have is of ourselves, and the greatest relationship we can ever have is with ourselves. So let's continue this conversation.
Definitely. And I can't add anything to that because I think that is the ongoing sentence that we can't repeat enough. The best and the most important relationship is the relationship with yourself. We hope that you got a lot out of this short conversation about real life testing and how that works and how you could do that and how you could establish it. And we hope to see you soon in another episode with Richard and Patricia in Raw and Real Relationships. Bye for now.
Remember, transformation isn't about perfection. It's about showing up authentically, one conversation at a time. Every relationship in your life has the potential to become deeper, more honest, and infinitely more fulfilling. But it starts with the courage to drop the mask and meet yourself exactly where you are. The work isn't always comfortable, but as Patricia and Richard demonstrate in every episode, it's always worth it. When you learn to love yourself fully, everyone around you feels the difference. Join us next time for Raw and Real in Relationships.